qualified to have romantic women.
The ages of 13. So, I'm of the what's it called? I'm of the school of thoughts that all aspects of love should be at least felt from the age of 13. So I feel like romantic relationship, you can start a romantic relationship at the age of 13. Doesn't have to have sex in it, but just romantic, having girlfriend, boyfriend, and all that at the age of 13, because I believe, one, why not? One, why not? But two, mostly in the aspect of the teen years being the beginning of freedom of thought and to explore who you are, why you're here, why you are. I feel ignoring the aspect of what you are or who you are in a relationship and how you relate with people in a relationship, and how even though it doesn't have to be like a serious relationship, like relating to marriage and all that, just the idea of dating and the person of the opposite gender or the same, whatever you swing. But I feel like at the age of 13, you should start at 13. Honestly, life's fun at 13. Life should be fun starting from 13, and you should be able to unlock so many experiences set for the age of that. People believe it should be 20s, but I'm like, 20s is when, you're supposed to figuring out an adult, and your teen years are for fun. And I'm like, 13 that's when teen starts. It has teen in the number. Have fun. Date at 13, 14, 15. How you look though? Some people didn't have good looks then. I'm just saying. Yeah. Before you, my intrusive thoughts win. When do you think people should start having relationships? What age?
I think when we ask what age, we are assuming that people have the same experiences, the same exposure, the same makeup, the same everything, and therefore the age is going to be a biological figure, a biological number.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think people should start dating and having romantic relationships when they are ready.
Ooh. You're ready at the age of 10?
I may be ready at the age of 10.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I should.
Okay.
I may be ready, but if I am growing in a healthy family, then it's not going to be, oh my goodness, this little dark secret that I'm hiding under my pillow. I am probably going to be able to have a conversation with a parent and say, you know what? I think I like this boy in my class. I think I like this girl in my class. Talk to your older sibling, whoever it is around you. And we're not talking about, again, here when we talk about dating, we're not talking about physical intimacy.
Yes.
Yeah? We're just talking about boy likes girl.
Yes.
Boy likes girl. Boy likes girl starts at what age? When they start drawing a line and the...
Class 7, class... No, class 7. Age 7, class 8.
Yes. Even...
Age 7. When people start dividing themselves in classes, you...
When you become aware that they're a boy and I'm a girl,
yes.
Which is what? About 9 years old?
Okay, some of us. Yes, 9.
That's when we begin to realize, there are
9.
boys and we are girls.
Yes.
Yeah? Now, I'm not saying that they should start dating at that age, because are they ready then? Not necessarily.
How would you know you're not ready without trying?
How would you know you're not ready?
Yes.
Again, if we are growing up in healthy families, then we will be having this conversation. We don't wait to have the conversation of, those are boys and they're not good, and those are girls and don't stay out, don't touch. Then that's not a healthy conversation.
Yes.
We should be able to have sex conversations from age 3-4.
3-4.
Yes.
I'm just understanding what words mean. What do you mean 3-4?
Age 3 and age 4.
Jesus Christ.
They're beginning to realize, why does my brother pee standing? They're beginning to be curious.
Okay.
So you begin to have...
I'm just side note. I'm of the school of thought that we should all be being seated down. It's just cleaner and sanitary that way. But that's a different story. That's a totally. I feel like we should be being sitting down because it's just cleaner, sanitary that way. It keeps it keeps the, if you have women in the household, it keeps them in mind so you don't. It's sanitary that way. I'm sorry, it's just sanitary that way. That's a different conversation.
There you are. But that curiosity starts at what age? 3, 4.
Yes.
So that's not that. So you continue. That's when the sex conversations begin. Yeah, and you continue throughout.
Oh, you mean sex as a gender, not sex as the physical intimacy?
You're talking about sex and all dimensions of what sex is. Gender, sexual. What I begin to discuss good touch, bad touch. Begin to talk about private parts. Begin to name them appropriately, so that you're not in your 30s and you're still saying my susu. Begin to name these things appropriately.
Yes.
And then from there you keep having this conversation. When the person is when they get to puberty, we're talking about 12, 13, then they will begin to think, I really like this girl in my class. I really like this boy in my class. So maybe, yes, we're talking about puberty when it comes to biological age, but really I don't think we should pin it down to, if you've not had a romantic interest or a romantic relationship by age 20, there's something wrong with you. You're just not ready. And maybe what you need to explore is, why am I not ready? Is there something that makes me hesitant to get into a relationship? What do I think about relationships? Is there a pain there that needs to be healed? Is there a wound there that gets triggered every time I think about relationships? What is it that is making me not feel ready?
Why not you not date and find out with the other person?
Because it's not the other person's responsibility to teach me why I'm not ready.
It's not them teaching you. It's more observing yourself while in a relationship to see your pitfalls.
Would you want to be my trial and error?
I'm not against it.
What I mean by my trial and error is you're ready,
yes.
but me, I am not sure whether I am ready.
So
I'm hanging around with you, hoping that you will make me ready. I'm giving you a responsibility.
That's why I'm like starting at the age of 13, 14, because there's no underlying thought that we are all ready. This is it. This is the relationship. This is the done deal. It's more of just seeing yourself. I feel like personally, and this personally, for me, I have learned, I'm sorry for those who they consider them trial and error, but I've learned most of my pitfalls while in relationships, because I feel that's when my most awareness is. Because when I'm just sitting alone, I would not be able to get into that kind of mindset, that kind of thought process, because that's not something that I am going through. Maybe that's just me. But when I'm in a relationship, it comes out in a certain aspect that I'm like, oh, so this and this and this. And I started dating like 16, so I have seen how it has the various pitfalls that have happened as I've grown older and everything. And I feel like that's such a valuable experience that is afforded when you start dating, because there's the option of determining how love works for you and how you love. Don't you think that's like important when it comes to relationships?
It's important, but my question then is, do you know yourself well enough to know how love works for you at that age?
Not really, but more of the idea of trying to see the direction of how it might work. More of getting the idea of which love languages work for you, which attachment style are you. I mean, for us, this kind of information came out really early. And so we constantly, I know we're a generation that keeps ourselves in a box and we try to make sure we stay in certain lines, but we use those lines as a direction to see where we're going. And when you start dating young, you kind of understand which way you might go. And even though it might change in the future, the security of having an idea now is not a bad one to have.
Do you need to be in a romantic relationship to know and understand your attachment style, to know and understand your love language? Is it possible to get to that knowledge, to that level of self-awareness without it being a romantic relationship?
I don't take friends seriously. But it's more of the understanding of, I think yes, because romance is becomes, I feel it's such a big aspect of our lives. Love in general is such a big actually love is everything. Love is generally everything. I believe love is everything. But if you do not even have the I know there are different types of love, but if you do not have the blueprint of how you are lovingly, I don't think, I do feel it comes out, the way you best learn yourself by throwing yourself into the fire. The relationship is the fire that will mold you and open these things up for you, because you can be in comfort trying to figure it out, but you're not being honest with yourself. In a relationship where you're seeing working, you really you can't ignore it, because now another person is involved. So I feel, I'm sorry, I know the feeling, it makes them feel like they are being used, but another person is involved, and it brings you can lie to yourself, you can lie to neighbor. When a mirror is held in front of you and you're seeing the effect it has on a person, it becomes difficult to ignore. You can live in bliss, but once it's in front of you, you have to address it.
I'm still stuck at when you define a relationship as throwing yourself into the fire.
It's not throwing yourself into, guys. Fire is warm. Fire is warm. Is it not?
Why can't you throw yourself into pillows? That's nice and cushiony.
If fire is warm, it can be hot, it can be warm. It just depends on
burn.
It Bible moment. It can be like it's called, I've forgotten the name, Meshach, Abednego. Sorry for my Bible teacher. But yeah, the way they were thrown in fire, the fire was hot, but because they had certain kind of protection, it didn't harm them, or it might have been warm. For you to reach that point, you have to get used to the fire. So, like, throw yourself, know where you stand, feel the uncomfortability, the heat. The heat is where the inner, not inequalities, more the works in progress are, and you can work on this works in progress so that you can, like the way fire makes metal pure, it is the same way a relationship can make you be able to be more capable of love, I think.
One of the things that happens to us when we find ourselves in places that we consider dangerous, which is love and fire.
I don't consider fire dangerous, but that's a whole different conversation.
I mean, one of the things that human beings generally do is that human beings are given to self-preservation.
Yes.
And so if you keep exposing me into spaces that make me feel I constantly need to protect myself, then the more likely that in every experience I am getting toughened.
Okay.
And getting jaded along the way. So that if I started dating very early, and I do not necessarily believe that the first person you date is the person you're going to get married to.
Of course not.
Yeah? Well, not of course not. We have different stories. But so we are assuming that you begin to date, this person teaches you a bit about yourself, you break up, and then you move on and you know. But what if you get jaded with every step of the way? By the time you're getting to that place where you're feeling, now I'm ready to settle, you're so completely jaded, you're so completely, there's a word I'm looking for, you become hardened, you know.
But that depends on the approach that you go into it, because the same way you say it can harden you, you can also say it's the same way it purifies you as well.
Let's define what this purification looks like.
A purification is you see what your works in progress, the toxicity that you might have within you, the unresolved childhood trauma that you project outwards within a relationship, and you address them. At the end of it, you're not tougher. For it, you're more complete. Because in a relationship, you enter one, not half. So by entering a relationship, that fire tries to make you one, not like a tough half, just the one. So that's what I think of purifying. Purifying is trying to make yourself whole by viewing what parts of you miss and what parts of you need some work on, so that down the line it's not a matter of unhealthy dependency when you decide to like date for real. I mean, date for marriage. But it becomes a matter of you are able to be in a healthy relationship. Yeah. I know it will not be perfect, but you have worked yourself at least to 90%.
Is it possible to create that kind of an atmosphere where you get to know that about yourself, you get to explore that about yourself, not in an exclusive one-on-one dating situation, but in like we have a crowd of friends. We have these 5 girls and these 5 guys, and they all hang out together. It's a group We're getting to know each other. The girls are getting to know the guys, but there's no specialization. We're just getting to know healthy people.
It's bold to assume nobody would date in that group. It's very bold to assume, but I feel like that kind of setting just is a power keg for a relationship to come out. But it is a good idea. I think it can work there, but can it? Cause I feel it's in relationship that you feel you're obliged to be better. But if in a friend like that, you can disengage at any moment.
And that's what I'm saying. In a space like that, it's safe.
Mm-hmm.
It's safe. We can be authentic. We can create an authentic community. We can create a safe community. And we can call each other out without having to feel like I am being picked on. Yeah? As opposed to when this guy calls me out, then, it's personal. But if we're in a group, then it's easy for me to be called out by the group. They'll be like, you know what, Mweni, this is what you're doing. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then you have different perspectives. Because remember that even in the group, we all have different perspectives. So we're looking at you and we're seeing, I like your hair. I like the color in your hair. And someone else is looking at you and thinking, your hair says you're rebellious. We're looking at the same thing, but different perspectives. And so it allows me to see myself from the eyes of different people, and maybe helps me also look at the world from different perspectives and not have a narrow view. And it's safe. Safety is important, by the way.
Yes, it's very important. Actually, it's an interesting idea, and I would probably need to see it work first. But I must stick with my twins. I'll
tell you how it works.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how it works, because that's a space that I grew up in.
Really?
I grew up in having that kind of environment. And so we grew up in an estate where we'd be like, okay, and this was before Jesus and after Jesus. This was in the church, but also even outside of the church, in the estate that I grew up in, it would be, okay, so we are going out. Yes, we are going out. And when we go out, if one of us sees a guy and they want to hang around with them, and we are saying, oh no, I've met a guy, I'm going home with them, the rest of the guys would be like, it's okay, you've met a guy, exchange phone numbers, call him tomorrow when you have your free time, but we came with you. We are not leaving you behind, because we are all going back home. So that was before becoming a Christian. So even the people that we just grew up with had that safety component of caring for each other and making sure that we are leaving no man behind, or woman for that matter. Okay, now when we became Christians, within the Christian community, it became that way. We are creating we are able to have conversations. We're able to have a safe community, such that if I don't like so and so, and we're in the same group, and so really likes me, then it's not going to be that difficult to let him know, imagine this girl does not like you in that way. Because we're in a group setting, then it's safer to even have those conversations of, imagine this conversation is not going to be romantic, and that person is not going to feel rejected. They're still part of the group. They still belong. And you know what? We are 5 girls in the group. It is only one girl that has said no. Imagine there's still 4 others. So again, it creates the safety for us to be able to interact in a healthy way. And long after we have grown up, we are still able to say, you know what? I learned this hanging out with you. And so that was my growing up experience.
Blessed. You know, some okay. I think the idea is, I understand that community can't really be the other option other than actually going to a relationship. But I feel with our current society, our generation of today, just the world we live in today, it's easier to be in a relationship than be in a community like that. Actually, a community that's a safe space like that. So that just availability, the easiness of just using the relationship rather than a group of friends, because our group of friends is really difficult to cultivate in our present times. And I'm just, how would you, if relationship is now off the table, how would somebody build that kind of community then?
As a mom, I would look around the moms around me and think, how many moms have daughters around my age? Yeah. So we have maybe 5, 6 moms. Let's get together. Let's bring these girls together. Okay. So we already created a community of girls that are in a safe space, you know, and the girls begin to know each other, get to understand one another, get to understand themselves, get to know each other. Okay. Then find another group of moms that has sons or families that have sons. And then every so often have events that bring the two together, because and I really think part of the communities that are existing for such possibilities is school. You know, I do not necessarily believe in the idea of mixed of separate schools for boys and girls.
Yes.
I do not think that. I don't think it's natural.
It's not natural at all.
I don't think it's natural.
Yeah.
Because where are these homes where boys are going to exist on their own and girls are going to exist on their own? I don't think it's natural. I think if we allow them into the same space, then they begin to, one, appreciate one another, respect one another, and learn how to coexist. The reason why I'm convinced that the reason why we have separate boys and girls schools was purely to make it easier for administration purposes.
True.
Not for the developmental of the development of the individual. So if we go back to our schools and we find class 8s, let's hang out as class 8s. Boys and girls, let's just hang out. We begin to see, what do I like about boys? Do I like tall boys? No. Okay, so no, I don't like tall boys. Do I like guys who wear glasses? You know? And I mean, what do I like?
We're truly the best. We see no one else. We only see you.
You have eyes for me.
Yes.
4 eyes. You paid to see me.
I paid to see you. Then who else has that level of commitment?
Yeah. So when we begin to create these spaces, and you see, here is the thing. Life needs to be intentional. So even our communities need to be intentional. We may not be able to choose our families, but we can choose our communities, and we can create communities for ourselves.
That's good. Hope your parents have the correct connections. Otherwise, but I also feel like I understand there are certain, also it doesn't also have to rely on school. I also think you can include church activities or just general events that happen, because I feel the basis of how a group begins is having a common idea or a common interest. So by building on that interest, you can have diverse people being connected in a similar way. So it can be going to an art gallery, or it can be church camps, church camps, and it's just an idea that you be intentionally keeping yourself out there. But I see it. I see the communities. I see it.
Yeah.
I see
Common
it.
values also are a place that communities can begin with. And I mean, when we look at the structure of our churches, people begin life together from the creche. You meet in the creche, then you go to Sunday school, and you get to ropes. And then you go, in my church, you then go to teens church. By the time they are 16, these people have been together for 14 years.
Sure.
That's a community. And they can begin to understand, no, I don't like you. No, I don't like this. No, yes, I like you. Yes, I like this about you. We are not necessarily in a romantic relationship, but we already have a platform that allows us to interact safely.